Hi guys, thanks for stopping by the Crafty Catholic today. I am April, and today I am participating in a flipping furniture challenge that is hosted by Julia at the Mug Life DIY. If you have never been to her channel, go over and check it out. She does a lot of furniture flips, some thrift flips, some Dollar Tree DIY. She's very creative. And her co-host today is Crafty Leanie. So many of you probably know her, but she is hysterical. She does a lot of Dollar Tree upcycles and a lot of live shows. She is so fun and talented. Make sure that you also check out her channel. So here is what I'm doing today. I've got a lamp, some candle sconces, and a mirror that I purchased at yard sales for $4 total. That's right. So I'm going to get started with the lamp, and you can see here the sticker. I paid $2 for this lamp, and it's not in the best shape. So I'm going to start by taking off the lampshade and the light bulb and just giving it a thorough cleaning. Man, this thing was grimy. I even had to take it to the sink to get all of the dirt out from between the bumps on the milk glass. Then I'm going to use painter's tape to tape off above and below the wood. I don't want to get any paint anywhere on this lamp except for on that wooden part. And once I've got that all taped off, I'm going to use my fingernail and go in there and just really give it a good press to make sure that I've got a good edge for my paint. Now I have 4 different colors here of dark blue paint, and I'm just real quickly going to write their names down, and I'm going to swatch each one because I'm not exactly sure which one I want to use, and the best way to find out is to see really what they're going to look like out of the bottle. So here I am doing that for each of those 4 colors, and here's what they look like. And I have decided to use that top one, and it is Ceramicoat Navy Blue. Then I'm going to give the lamp a quick sand. This doesn't have to be real good because honestly most of the varnish had already worn off, and it had quite a few water spots and things on it anyway. So I started by painting a coat of blue over the wood, and I fairly quickly realized that I was not going to like it. It was not getting a good coverage, and I was going to be using a lot of paint because the wood was really absorbing the paint that I was using. So I stopped and decided that I needed to give it a base coat. So here I've gone back in with Waverly Waverly chalk paint and plaster, and then I kind of start over and with the blue, and it's going on much better. It's still very streaky, and I end up having to give the lamp 3 coats of the blue before I got to the color that I liked. And here it is. So I'm going to take the tape off, and if anything bled, I'm just able to kind of pick it off with my fingernail. And I'm really happy with the color. I think it looks good. There I am going in with those Cricut tweezers and just scraping, making sure that I have a nice line down there at the bottom. So let's work on the lampshade. This thing was awful. I'm sure in 1984 it was really cute, but it's not quite my style. So I was hoping I could use what was under the fabric, but I didn't realize it had a hole burned through it. So I'm going to take off everything. I'm going to take off the fabric, and I'm going to take off the plastic that probably was the original lampshade. And it's super easy to remove. You just start cutting it, and it's basically one thin piece of plastic that's been wrapped over and over around the lampshade. And all of that went into the trash. So I've decided to recover the lampshade with this white satin ribbon. It's the brand is Offray, and I picked it up at Walmart, but any ribbon will work. And I'm going to do the same thing that the manufacturer did with the strips of plastic and just wind this ribbon over and over until the lampshade is covered. It took me 2.5, maybe 2 3/4 rolls of that ribbon. And there was, let me see, I'm looking at it, 12 feet of ribbon on each roll. And the trick to doing this is to make sure when you are pulling that ribbon that you keep it tight. As tight as you can. You don't want to bend your frame. But the tighter you can keep it, the better the lampshade will look in the end. And I don't know that I'm in love with the white. I may go back and, so when one roll is done, you just glue the ribbon on right where you left off, and no one will ever know that it was pieced right there. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so I don't know that I'm in love with this shiny white. It kind of clashed a little bit, I felt like, with the glass on the lamp, but it will work until I find something I like better. So as I'm out in stores and stuff, I'll probably just keep it in the back of my head, you know, oh, hey, ribbon or fabric for that one lampshade, and someday I'll find something and probably do a video on redoing this lampshade. But here it is, finished, and you just use a little bit of hot glue, and this is what it looks like. I do love the blue, though. I think it is really pretty. So my second project are these candle sconces, which were also $2, and I'm going to start by just removing the Velcro that they had used to hang them. My husband liked the wood. He kind of didn't want me to paint them, but they're two different colors. Like the wood doesn't even match. So I'm going to paint them. I'm going to paint them two ways. I'm going to start by cleaning them though. Then I learned from the lamp, a coat of white chalk paint, not white, plaster chalk paint. It really doesn't matter, white, chalk paint, plaster, gesso, whatever you have. And then I'm going to give them 3 coats of the same blue that I used on the lamp, except for the top of them. The very top I am going to replicate to look like milk glass. So you'll see that in a minute. So after the 3 coats are dry, I'm going to use this Waverly Clear Wax, and I actually read the directions on it. I use the antique wax all the time, just however I want. I never knew there were directions. So the directions say, paint a coat on and then wipe it off, let it dry for 24 hours, and then buff it with a soft cloth. So I thought I'd try it. So here I am, I'm painting on the wax, and then I'm just going to wipe it off with a cloth. And this is the difference between the two. So the one on the right has the wax, and the one on the left has no wax. It's set for 24 hours, so I am just buffing off whatever's on there, just doing what it said to do. I don't know that the 24-hour buffing made a huge difference, but I did it. So now I'm going to work on the top of them, and I'm taking the stick-on pearls. I probably got them from Amazon. I mainly use them for cards, but I am scattering them on the top of on this little white, it looks to me like a candle cup, so I'm going to call it a candle cup. And I'm going to paint them white. So I'm using just regular acrylic, but I'm using the gloss because milk glass is shiny. So I'm giving it 3 good coats all over everything, all over the stick-on pearls and the wood part. I didn't use any extra hot glue, but the paint will help those to adhere really well. And here is what it looked like when it was done. I kind of like it. I really love the blue for sure. I'm kind of, I don't know if I love the white, but I'm going to live with it for a while and then decide. So my final flip is going to be this mirror that I got in the free box at a garage sale. So this one cost me nothing. The candle sconces cost me $2. The lamp cost me $2. And this was free, so I have a total of $4 invested in these pieces, other than paint and supplies. But I'm giving it a good cleaning because it was pretty grimy. And when I flipped it over and was cleaning the back, I found where somebody had written their name and the date. You can tell that this is a homemade piece. So I was very pleased to have that information. So I didn't want to lose it with paint. I went over it with a pencil and then again with a pen so I would keep it. And so here you can see that this was made by Joan Stewart, April 14th, 1979. And I'm happy to know that. Now I am going to give it a light sand just to get the varnish off. I want my paint to have a good surface to adhere to. Don't want this flaking and chipping off after I put all this effort into it. And then I'm going to take some wood glue. Any kind will work. This is what my husband happens to buy because I stole it off his workbench. So I am squirting some into the corner, those seams where the mirror was put together, just to fill in. I'm sure since 1979 this has had a little bit of movement and it looked like it was coming apart a little bit. So I am just squirting it into the gaps and smoothing it out with my fingers, and then I'm going to set that aside and let it dry. After it dries, it gets a coat of the plaster chalk paint and 3 coats of the blue, just like the other pieces, so these will all match in the end. Then I'm going to give it a coat of the clear Waverly wax, wiping off the extra and letting it dry for 24 hours, and then I will come back and buff it off with a cloth. While I'm letting that dry, I'm going to work on the mirror. So the mirror definitely was showing its age. The silver had flaked off and it was scratched. So I cleaned the front of it with Windex, and now I am going to paint the back of it with this silver paint. Now this is not the most reflective silver paint, but I think it will be good enough just to kind of clean up the look of the mirror a little bit, and I'm going to give it 2 coats of that. So after the silver paint has dried, I'm going to come back in with my Waverly chalk paint in the color ink. I think any black paint would work for this, acrylic or chalk, whatever you've got. And I'm going to cover the entire back of the mirror with the black paint, and then I'm going to set that aside to dry. Here is the finished back of the mirror, and as you can see, it had some cracks. I think that is probably because I didn't let the silver paint dry long enough, but it is dry now. So I'm just going to turn it over and give it a good cleaning on the front so that I can continue working on it. And to do that, I'm going to be using some of this Cricut vinyl. I cut a piece off the roll that is the same width as the mirror, and I am putting it onto my cutting mat. I have the original Cricut. I've had this thing for 11 years now. It has cartridges, it is not Bluetooth or anything like that, but it still works. So I cut out the words that I wanted to use, and I'm going to be making a stencil. So I'm picking all of the letters out of the cutout, but I'm saving them because I'm going to need the middle of the O and the middle of the P to put back in. And after I've got all the letters out, I'm cutting them into strips so that I can then arrange them onto the front of the mirror. So here's the front of the mirror, and I've taped a piece of paper over most of it because it's really hard to film a mirror. I have never tried to do a mirror before, but this may be the last time I do it. Anyway, I played around with the layout, and this is what I decided I liked. So I am peeling the back off of the vinyl and laying it down onto the mirror in the arrangement that I like. And then I am going to go through all of those little letter pieces that I kept, and I'm going to put back all the middles. If you haven't been able to read what I've written, I'm putting this quote from Proverbs 31 that talks about the Proverbs 31 woman, who is amazing. And it starts out that she is more precious than jewels. So I am putting that on the mirror.
I just felt like that would be a great reminder to anyone that looks in this mirror that as women, we are more precious than jewels. But to God, I mean, like if a man used the mirror, he's more precious than jewels to God too. But specifically for women in this verse, it talks about beauty and worth. And I just thought that was a great little reminder. So now what I'm going to do, I've got all the middles back into the letters, and I am using just plain white acrylic paint and a little dauber. I think I picked these up in a bag at Walmart, and I am just painting through my stencil, basically. And I will tell you, the Proverbs 31 is a little low, and when I put it back into the frame, I wished I had done that a little bit higher. So if you decide to do something like this, check that before you do your painting. So here's the most satisfying part of anything like this is pulling it off. And then I have to go in and take out all the middles. You could also do this with etching cream. I didn't happen to have any, so I decided just to paint it. And then if I do ever want to change this, I can scrape all this paint off. And this is what it looks like. Again, sorry, it's really hard to film a mirror. You get to see my camera. So now I'm putting it back into the frame, and I am using the same nails and everything that it came with. I even stick the penny back in there. I thought that was such a crack up that this mirror was being held into this frame with a penny. So I put it back, and then I do run a little bit of glue on the edges. I don't think I filmed that though. And this is what it looks like hanging on the wall near the sconces. The paint is very subtle, but I like it. And there you can see how Proverbs 31 is a little bit low. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and this is part of the collaboration video with The Mug Life and Crafty Leanie. So check them out in the description box. If you haven't been to their channels, please go over and tell them hi. And as always, I hope that the Lord blesses you and your family. Please know that I am praying for you, and I will see you in the next video.